That is a cracking fish. Unbelievable. Thanks for choosing to watch the video. In this one we're perching again, but this time we're on a massive stillwater, a really big stillwater. Now, it's rained a lot recently. The rivers, they're all flooded, they're all in a bit of a mess, and when this happens, and it does happen every winter, it's handy to have a stillwater to fall back on. So you're going to join me on a handful of sessions that I think went really quite well, and I'm pleased to share them with you. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So you joined me sort of really at the start of my big lake campaign. I did come here a couple of months ago, sort of in September time, and had a bit of a play around. It was still quite warm there. The fish were in the shallow water, had a lot of fun, catching quite a few sort of senior wasps, you know, maybe slightly bigger. And yeah, it was just a bit of fun really. Fast forward 2 months. It's the start of December now, so the woolly hat is on, and so are the gloves. It's getting quite cold. Christmas is just around the corner, and I came at first light this morning. I started off on the gonks, the larger gonks, flinging them around in fairly dark colours in the deeper water because it is quite cold now. Decided to hit the deep water with gonks, and I was getting the odd hit, but it wasn't really happening. I then tried a few things before arriving at the ever faithful Ned rig and the squirm, because like I say, the water is quite cold. I went with a dark colour because the water is quite deep, so I can imagine that it's quite dark down there. I went with a colour that's going to create a silhouette, and straight away that worked. Started getting some perch. There we go. Fish on it. Let's hope it's a perch. Feels quite good. It shows the Ned. And it is a perch. Smashing. Oof. So there we are. Not the biggest perch in the world, but look at him. Angry, angry fella. First one from the big lake, first sort of like reasonable size one from the big lake this year. And it was the slow retrieve it wanted. Hopefully now I've worked that out, we'll get a few. Fish on, feels like a perch. Sort of good perch size. Here he comes. Another decent one. Yes. There we are. Another one. Hopefully you can tell he's a different fish by the dorsal fin. Similar sort of size, same technique. Definitely got something going now. Awesome. So I clearly found something that had worked, you know, a 10-gram jig head. Those were just a straight 10-gram jig head. Because it is deep water, I probably could have gone up a bit heavier than that. Because yeah, it's fairly deep, and yeah, it was doing all right. I found something that worked. There we go. There's another one. Yeah, we have found the method here. It feels a sort of similar size, smaller. It's a bogey. Okay, so we definitely found the way to go with these now. Very, very slow. Lobworm coloured squirm. Not a huge fish, but it feels like we might have cracked a method. Squirms in lobworm, such a reliable, straight 10 gram jig head, fish really slow, doing the business. So for whatever reason, I decided to have a bit of an experiment. I got these new Strike King lures, the finesse worms, and I really wanted to try them out. I had them in a couple of different colours, decided to put a dark one on because I knew the dark squirms were working. So I put on a dark finesse worm. I decided to fish it on a cheb rig, 10 gram cheb rig. So quite a heavy weight still because of the deep water, but I actually decided to use a fairly small hook. So, you know, quite often on the chebs I'm using a 1/0. Here I drop right down, you know, because it is a long lure, 10 centimetres, but the profile of it is actually quite thin, which meant that I could actually fish it on a fairly small hook. So that's something I wanted to experiment with, and you will not believe what happened second cast. I've got a 14-pound Zander in my net, caught on a finesse worm. I mean, look at the size of it. Look. Huge, absolutely huge. Don't quite believe I'm saying this, but look at that. 14-pound Zander. Unbelievable. Don't normally fish for these, so to get one on a lure, just incredible. Yeah, I know, my mind is still blown, my head is absolutely buzzing. Incredible. I knew, you know, when I came to fish the big lake, I knew there was a reasonable chance of picking up some Zander, but certainly didn't think it would happen so soon, and I didn't think that they would be so big. So yeah, just absolutely incredible. You might wonder why you didn't see me catching it. It was one of those ones where the GoPro just malfunctioned completely. It, you know, as soon as I netted the fish, I looked down at the back of the GoPro and I could see it had frozen. But that's technology for you. I can't say I was that bothered. I was just so buzzing about the fish that I wasn't that bothered about the GoPro footage. But I am sorry that you didn't see me sort of like set the hook and catch the fish and all the rest of it. But yeah, technology, just one of those things. That pretty much brings you up to date. I mean, my head is still completely blown. I haven't fished for the last 45 minutes because I was just shaking. But I think I've recomposed myself a bit now. We're coming up for midday. As I say, I haven't really fished for the last hour. Thought I'd do a quick bit to camera, and now I'll carry on fishing. There we go. Fish at last. That's taken ages. It feels like a good one as well. Yeah, it's a nice one. In you come. To work for you. There we are. There we are. That is probably one of the better ones yet. Gonna get him back quickly, but he is a cracker. So I've fished on for a while. It's gone very quiet through the middle of the day, but did just have a nice one just then. I'm using the squirm. It was a bit mangled, that one, because it just come out of the fish's mouth, but you can see big jig head, 10 gram. That's because of the deep water and the fact that I want to get out in the lake a bit. So yeah, a nice big jig head and a squirm. Seems to be the bait they want. Just want to quickly run through a few things that I've sort of like picked up whilst I've been on the big lake. First thing I want to talk about is location. Obviously, when you come to somewhere like this, that's a gazillion acres in size, I don't know how many exactly, location, it can seem a little bit daunting when you first get here and you look at it. What I have learned, I think, which sort of goes across all fishing, doesn't it, is that basically in the milder conditions, when it's a little bit warmer, they'll be in the shallower water. And obviously now that it's got really, really cold, you're best off targeting the deep water. So the first thing I suppose to do is when you come to a big lake like this, is quite quickly try and build a picture of, you know, where the deep and the shallow water is. And you can do that just by fishing it. You know, you can tell by how long it takes for your jig head to hit the bottom, can't you? You know, you can just get a feel for it. So yeah, I mean, at the moment, right in the middle of winter, it's really cold. They're going to be in the deep water. I anticipate as we come out of winter, around spawning time and into spring, they'll start to move back into the shallower water. So I guess the best thing to do is move around a lot, go from swim to swim, just really to build up a picture of the lake and get to know it, learn where the shallow areas are, learn where it's deeper, and I think that'll pay dividends as you move with your lure fishing through the year. I guess the other thing is don't be put off by not being able to fish from a boat. People do fish from boats here, but the ownership of boats is restricted. So yeah, the fact that I can't fish from a boat, what I would say is don't let that put you off. Get out there, have a go. You might be surprised what you catch. I'm just going to go through the outfit that I'm using on the lake. Basically everything's just stepped up a bit. I mean, you could bring your 1 to 10 gram rod, finesse rod here and have a go, particularly maybe in the warmer conditions where they're moving into the edges and in the shallower water, you might get away with that sort of rod. But at the moment, like I said, they are in the deep water, and that makes me want to use a fairly heavy jig head. You know, I'm not going to stand there waiting for ages for a 3 gram jig head to drop through the depth of water that we're fishing at the moment. So I do want to fish, like I want to fish a 10 gram jig head. That's what I've got on at the moment. In order to do that and actually fish it at a reasonable range, I need a beefier rod. So I'm using a 25 gram lure rod, the ZT lure rod. So, you know, quite a stiff outfit. It's about 7.5 foot long, as opposed to, you know, the 6 foot rods that I might use on the river. That extra length, again, it's going to help me in the cast to get out into the lake a little bit more. On the river, again, I'm using 1,000, 1,500 size reels. Not here. I would go 2,500. I think this one's even 3,000. I've created like a hybrid reel out of a red Infernos. The reason I want a larger reel, I want a bigger spool. That bigger spool is going to help me again with my cast and hit the range that I want to. Onto the reel, 25 pound braid, double the thickness that I might use elsewhere. It's a 25 pound braid, comes through to a 10 pound fluorocarbon leader, and then I have been bitten off once by a pike, so that's enough for me to want to put a trace on. I've put a trace on. I've made sure it's fine wire. You'll have seen in my previous videos me showing you how I create fine wire traces by twisting them. Well, I've moved away from that. Tom Hunt, he showed me some really nice knottable wire. Cheers, Tom. And I've been using that ever since I've done the Perch Masters with Tom. It seems to work really nicely. You know, you can get it up to about 11 pound breaking strain. It's very fine wire with a very fine layer of nylon across it, which makes it knottable. And to be honest, since I've started using that, I haven't looked back. All I do is a figure of 8 loop knot to join a clip at one end and a small swivel at the other. And then, like I say, you know, on the business end, a 10 gram jig head. It's a nice heavy weight to drop through that deep water. I might go lighter in the spring when I'm not fishing so deep, but a 10 gram jig head. On there at the moment, I've got a squirm. I would say if you here used a 9 centimetre shad, I don't think you'd go too far wrong. That feels about the right sort of size. Go with a shad that you've got some confidence in. I would use them in dark colours. You know, what seems to be working really well here is like a dark blue or a dark brown or like a green pumpkin, like a dark green. So yeah, just go with what you've got confidence in, but a 9cm shad seems to be a good option. Having said that, I have definitely had the majority of my fish on a stick bait. Now, would I have caught so many on a shad? I don't know, but really, when it's as cold as it has been, and it has been freezing cold, you know, around 0, a bit below, when it really does get that cold, I just do like a Ned rig, and I do like a stick bait, and once again, it's actually performed pretty well here. So merely picking up bits and pieces this afternoon. Had a couple of small fish and some sort of slightly bigger perch, but that's it's been on the squirms. You know, been alternating between lobworm and bruiser. Both been catching fish. I can't get another bite on the finesse worms. Just that incredible Zander, but I will put them back on. But yeah, it feels like now we're just waiting for dusk. I think we're about an hour or so away from that, and the fishing has got really, really hard. So hopefully it's going to pick up as the light falls. Well, it's going to be a terrible picture, this, no doubt. I'm not getting the main camera out, it's just my phone. I fished right into dusk, as you can see, and yeah, it just didn't happen. Rubbish. It sort of fished really well from first light right up until lunchtime, and then from lunchtime onwards, it just died a death. Yeah, don't know. I wonder if that's going to be a pattern. So yeah, this is the reality of it, and I'm absolutely exhausted this morning. It's 5:30, so it's not really early, but early enough. An hour and a half drive to the lake. So as you can see, we're going really slow, really slow. It's freezing cold. Only way to fish when it's this cold, I think. If this doesn't work, I'll try and zap fish up in the water a little bit. Not up in the water, but raising it off the bottom and letting it drop. But right now, I really am crawling it, bumping it. Hands are freezing. There we go, fish on. Doesn't feel like a big one. There we are. It's the first one in the morning. Not big, so we'll get him back. But a good start. That's literally the first cast since it's got properly light. Something I would say about the lakes is, especially ones as large as this, is that they can be quite harsh. You know, you might go one day, you know, I've strung a few sessions together here now. I know it looks like I've just had a result across 2 sessions, but in actual fact, I've probably done 4 or 5 maybe. And some of them I haven't included in the video because I've just not really caught anything worth sharing particularly. But I've sort of built up a bit of a picture of what it's like on different days, and some days it's flat, calm, blue skies, really, really nice. But on other days in winter, this is particularly in winter, when the wind picks up across these lakes, it can be quite fierce. You know, it can be really, really cold. I know sometimes I look a bit stupid in a big thick hat. You know, I've got a nice quilted jacket on. I would just say, just make sure that you're wrapped up warm, because yeah, it can get really cold. You know, if you're on the end of the wind, it can get really, really cold. So go prepared, and that's definitely going to make sure that you enjoy your fishing a bit more, I think. So in terms of retrieve and how I'm actually fishing, I'm punching the 10 gram jig head out as far as I can. Now at the moment I've got a shad on, so like a 9 centimetre shad. I've got the gonk on, but you know, if I was, every now and then I'm putting a shad on, and I'm fishing that by bringing it up in the water, tightening it up and just letting it fall. Bringing it up in the water using the rod, and then just winding down the slack and letting it fall. So that's how I'm fishing the shads. A lot more motion to those, a lot more up and down motion. And that's basically how I'm fishing those. If I'm fishing the Ned rig, obviously a stick bait, then I'm not putting anywhere near as much movement in it. You know, when it's getting really, really cold, I really am just twitching that, bumping it with long pauses. But the shads, I'm actually doing that up and down motion quite a lot more, bringing it right up, dropping it back down. Oh, look at it now, look, it's gone flat calm. Half hour ago, there were waves everywhere. It's worth saying that is why I like to use the 10 gram jig head as well, because of the crosswind. You know, I mean, the idea of flicking out a 5 gram jig head or a 3 gram in that crosswind, you know, the wind picks up across these big still waters, so you do need to step it up. And yeah, as a result of that, the whole outfit needs to step up as well. Oh, that feels like a much better fish. Oh, yeah, this is sounding decent. Shaking its head. Put on a bigger lure as well. Yes, this isn't a perch. Not sure what it is, but this is not a perch. Had a big zander here the other day. If it's another one of those, I will be amazed. But it's definitely not a perch. Put a big gonk on and straight away I've got something bigger. Not sure what though. What's coming up in the water? Whatever it is. There's a pike. It's a big one as well. Oh, come on. Oh, bit me off. And there we are, look, there's the squirm. Freezing cold day, the sun's just come up and we're nailing some stunning perch. Something else to consider, if you don't want to fish these on a cheb, can you see I've mounted it there just on my standard jig head? You can just put them on like that if you want. You know, if you can't be bothered to keep switching between a cheb and a standard jig head, then I've also been fishing them like this, just like that, on a standard jig head. What I would say is, I don't know if you can see that, but when you've passed the hook through the lure there, just pass it through and then almost nick a tiny amount on the hook there. Can you see? Nick a tiny amount on the hook there, just to pull the lure towards the point of the hook. But there you go. I've also been fishing these like that on a standard jig head. Look at that, on the shaky head. There's one just on the finesse worm, just mounted on a standard jig head. So they don't have to be on a chair. That's worked a treat. Oh my God. Oh, this feels like a better fish. Yeah, feels like a good one, this one. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, that's a better one. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Ugh. There we are. I haven't weighed it, but that is a nice one from the lake. That is a cracking fish. So there you go. That's how I approach the large stillwater that I've been fishing. I'm not finished there yet. You know, I've probably done a handful of sessions and I'm going to do some more, you know, might even carry on doing them once the river closes. Really handy to have a venue like this for when it rains, when there's so much flood water, and also for when the river closes and you just feel like doing a little bit more lure fishing. So yeah, I've enjoyed the time here, but I'm not done. Definitely going to do a bit more. In terms of what I'll be fishing for next, I'm not really sure. I'm going to film a Perch Masters again very soon. As soon as I do, obviously I'll share that with you. But until the next video, look after yourselves and be lucky.